Tonight on Chim's Talk Africa, we'll be revisiting some of my conversation with women leaders we have had on this show. And we'll be trying to capture this truth. What does it take to be a woman of influence? Tonight on Chim's Talk Africa. But before we do that, please like this video and leave a comment below. Let's know what you think. And don't forget to subscribe and click on the bell button and share this video with somebody else.
From Cape Town to Cairo and from Mogadishu to Dakar, this is Chim's Talk Africa. And now here's your host, Chim Onyibilanma.
Welcome to this episode of your show, Chim's Talk Africa. I am your host, Chim Onyibilanma. Thank you so much for joining us today. Like I said in the beginning, today we'll be going through a compilation of some of the women who have been my guests over the last few months. Not all of them, but some of them, and I'm sure you're going to enjoy this. Particularly because this is our last compilation of this sort on our anniversary month this August. And August also in South Africa is the Women's Month. So this is a chance to celebrate women as we celebrate also Chim's Talk Africa this month of August. But before I do that, I want to quickly do two things. First of all, I want to remind you that we have giveaways running. We have our anniversary giveaways running on our YouTube channel, and people have already started winning prizes in the last few weeks. There's still an opportunity for you to go on our YouTube channel, use the link on the screen. The first prize will have this book sent to them. This is the first prize every week, along with some cash prizes up there. The prizes, all kinds of prizes up there. So go to our YouTube channel now and begin to join others to also win. The book is called Church Mafia by Mercado, a man who used to be a false prophet before, the story of how God transformed him and what you can learn about being avoiding false prophets. Now, the second thing I want to do is as we come to the last week of our celebration of our anniversary this August, our second anniversary, I want to introduce you to some of the people who make this program possible. I might be the one in front of the camera, but there are a lot of other people who work so diligently to make this possible. I will not be able to call everybody's name, especially the faithful cameramen we use in the different countries we go to, whether it's Malawi, Madagascar, or Kenya, or Uganda, or Nigeria, and here in South Africa. I want to thank all of you, great crewmen. But I want to pick out a few people. Number one is our director, Austin Awolonu, who I've mentioned before, is the man who is behind directing most of the productions we see here, as well as a major pillar in this show. And then, of course, there is Simi Onyibilanma, who is our accountant and diligent at that. But there are other guys who handle post-production, and I want to introduce these guys. There is Bongani Msimanga, who is our post-production director. And Bongani, thank you for what you do. And there is Bayanda Sitole, who is an intern with us. And Bongani, you have something to say?
Thank you, Chim, for being part of this great show, a very educative show, the show that touches many lives in Africa, a show that changes lives beyond African borders. So I'm grateful for being part of this show. Thank you.
I thank God for the opportunity to be working here.
It's such a blessing to have such a team around me. And so I thank God for them. Today, we're looking at some of the conversations I've had with women. And one thing is sure, God is transforming Africa through some very powerful women who have been strategically placed in different parts of this continent, as you will hear from them. As we go into this, I want to start with something one of them said. Jumoke Adenowo is the award-winning architect and public speaker who we've had at least twice on this show. One thing she said when I asked her about the place of women in the church as well as outside the church. Listen to her as she articulates this.
If I'm as an architect, I believe that form follows function, which means the way you were created and the apparatus you came to the world with follows the function that you are supposed to deploy. If a woman was just supposed to have children and children only, she would have come to this world with a womb and a subpar brain. That is a brain that all it could cope with is childcare. The brain will not be dexterous enough to write the same exams, which I wrote in university, that the men also wrote. I don't remember being given a pink exam slip for my finals, meaning this is the female paper and this is the male paper. So this is for females, and this is for males. So we did the same exams the men could do because we're being prepared for the same challenges and the same workplace. So can a woman have it all? Yes, she can, at different seasons in her life.
Let's explain that.
Meaning, probably Hillary Clinton could not have run for president when Chelsea was still breastfeeding.
Okay.
But then, as a woman, just like a tree or like any other thing, there are seasons to your life. There's a season for preparation. There's a season where you manifest. There's a season that you bloom. But in your lifetime, can you have it all? I believe you are created to have all God created you to have. And society should not dictate to you what your maker has not dictated to you.
Now, one question I normally ask the women is where they get their confidence from, because it stands out. The inner strength you find in each of these women makes me want to find out, where does this strength come from? Where did they get this confidence from? And listen to what they had to say. Dubile Kele is the MD of Africa Become and the former CEO of the Durban Chamber of Commerce and Industry.
It comes from knowing that we are not different as people, black and white. And honestly, growing up, being amongst people of all races from that age, grade 1, for me, I understood that I get the same results in the classroom.
Okay.
I can do English better than them sometimes. I was fortunate. I mean, thank God for that. I was always a bright student. I never struggled, in terms of my grades. So I just never saw myself as different. It's the environment. Oftentimes we ask ourselves whether we are products of our environments. And the truth of the matter is that we are, because I do believe that what I am now is a product of my environment, or that what we've just spoken about, going between first and third world in a day, it has spoken to how I see the world. What I've soon found out in the world we were differentiated. We were being seen as different.
It was totally different in our household. And to be honest, my dad may have spoken, my mom just did. So they were both mentors. So my mom was a role model. She just did. She showed me by being what she could be, that a woman could be anything she could be.
You're talking of your dad and your mom.
Maybe I was settling my dad. But but they were both. For my dad, what he did to me is that, you see, when a woman is brought up by a man, there is a level of self-assurance and confidence that comes from the fact that affirmation that your father has paid attention to you. And my dad would listen to me as a 3-year-old, encourage me. He wanted to hear my opinion, and I would speak. I'm aware of conversations from 3. That's why I say that. And my dad forgot to tell me that I was a girl and there were things a girl couldn't do. They completely forgot. So it was left to the environment to try and tell me, don't you know you're a woman? But it was too late. I was formed. That ship had sailed. So that is what it was with my parents. They made me feel that I was a valuable member of the family and what I say matter.
Linda Ofori-Kwafo is a woman who is feared in Ghana. She is an anti-corruption watchdog. She's the head of the Ghana Integrity Initiative. And here is what she had to say.
I must say it is from the Lord. And secondly, from my husband. It's a big encouragement. He is in the background. But there are days when I didn't know anything about the law, when I'm supposed to grant a media interview, and I'll call him, Nanofori, can you help me understand this part of the law? Because he's a pastor and also a lawyer. Then you actually depend on somebody in-house.
Yeah.
Pro bono. You don't pay anything. But people don't know. Then you speak on air as if you know it all by yourself.
But he's supporting
so he's been
you
a very
behind.
great
So your confidence comes from the Lord
yes.
and comes from the support of your husband who
yes.
we don't normally see.
Yes, nobody knows.
And
only the church members do.
The president didn't know when he was appointing you that he was appointing both. It's South Africa, we call it a combo. We're going to go for a break now. When we come back from the break, we'll continue from where we stopped. Don't go away, please. From Durban in South Africa, as well as from various parts of Africa, join me each week as I interview leaders from across the continent, and we seek to unpack the issues facing Africa from God's perspective.
We cannot solve the problems of South Africa with fighting.
The church needs to rediscover its own prophetic voice.
There are some conversations you can't afford to miss. This is Chim's Talk Africa. Hi there, welcome to the second part of our show today, and we'll continue with the conversation with the women. But before we do that, I want to remind you again that we are running a giveaway, our anniversary giveaway on YouTube. We're giving away a copy of this book, Church Mafia, by Pastor Ramabulani, a former false prophet whose life got transformed. You would want to go to YouTube. People already winning this book every week, as well as cash prizes. You don't want to miss it. Now, one of the things I would normally ask the women is, how do they balance everything? How do they balance the whole? I normally would ask this from the male leaders too. Is how do you balance all of it? Home, head of corporation, industry leaders, public speaking, public figure, and here's what they had to say.
But what makes my life easier is that I don't even try and please anybody. Okay. I'm not, because I can please everybody. I please one person, the person who sent me part-time. And when you make your purpose your priority, it makes it easy to know the difference between the good thing for you and the right thing. There are usually many good things, there's only one right thing. So I don't try to do everything. So every day I wake up, I ask myself, is doing this interview with Chim, is it part of my purpose? Yes, it is. I do it.
Thanks, huh?
Is it not? It's not. No, I don't. So it's about my purpose, setting my priorities. And that way, the person who sent me makes sure he packages everything.
So true north becomes clear because you...
Beautiful, true north. And then if you want to marry, marry right.
Yeah.
That's what I say. So I have married a husband who can carry the weight of my destiny and my call. Yeah. So I have him cooperate, because I notice that young people these days want to marry somebody who can carry the weight and the invoice of their weave on or their wig or their bag, but not the weight of their destiny. It cannot pay the price for that, but it can pay the price for their wardrobe. But that's not what we should be looking at. We should be looking at, can he pay the price? Not for my shoes, but for my vision. It comes back to marrying right. If you believe that you are meant to marry, then marry right. Marry a man who is not threatened by the woman, not the woman you are now, but the woman you will become. Because you are who you are today, but do you know who you will become? Marry that man who can cope with that woman you will be in 10 years' time and in 15 years' time, because he's also evolving.
Allen Kajina is the woman who helped to stop the corruption in the tax authority in Uganda. It transformed that place from a very corrupt organization into one that is one of the most outstanding and extremely profitable. This is what she had to say.
Over the years, I've learned that there's no such thing as balancing. You cannot get your 24 hours a day and say, I will do 8 hours as the executive director, and I will do the next 8 hours as wife and mother, and the 8 hours I'll try and get some rest. Because you must be 100% where you are. I can't say 30% here, 30% here, 30% there. When I'm here, I'm not mother. I'm not wife. I'm the executive director of Uganda National Roads Authority. This is the office I'm executing right now. When I go home, I'm not the executive director at all. I will get calls, I'll try and attend to what needs to be attended, but my assignment there is to be a wife to Paul and a mother to my 3 children. And so God enables you, anoints you to be where you are so that you're 100% that there. The nature of life as it is that there will be interference one from the other. But that's all right. That's not a threat. The reality is that God has equipped you to be 100% what you are at the time that you're supposed to be in. So that's why I always have an issue with balancing. No, because I don't think it balances.
100% mother, 100% executive director, 100% wherever other role God has given you.
That's the pristine. That's what it should be.
Where there is a will, there will always be a way around it. I do all that every woman does. I do all the cooking, all the learning, everything.
All the cooking.
And there is no house help in the house. So we do it all by ourselves. Daddy cleans, boys do everything by ourselves.
So you marshal everybody together? There's no house help in the house?
No. Somebody comes around to help clean and wash.
Once in a while?
Once in a while.
Nobody stays around daily?
No.
So you do everything that's supposed to be done?
Yes.
And then you still do all of these things we see outside?
Yes.
How do you do it? Tell us the secret.
The secret, as I said, if you are passionate about something, if you are determined to get something done, you will do it. Anything a woman sets herself out to be able to do, you should be able to achieve it. We have 24 hours in a day for everybody. If you want to be an achiever, you don't sleep at 10 p.m. No. People who are changing things in the world, the Bill Gates and the rest, I'm not sure they are sleeping at 10 p.m.
What time do they sleep?
Oh, very late. You have to prepare. I have to prepare. Yesterday around, and surprisingly, I was supposed to leave Ghana to be here. My flight was around 6:20. I didn't set my alarm clock. I slept, but God knew I was coming here some way, somehow. I slept around 12:30 yesterday.
That's when I slept.
Okay. And then surprisingly around 3:17 a.m.
The Lord woke you up.
The Lord woke me up.
Wow.
Otherwise I would have missed this flight. And so then I said, where there is a way, there is a will, there is a way. God will help you. The people who want to support you will support you. And then you yourself, you have to be very determined to achieve the goals and targets you've set for yourself.
Well, I asked Allen Kajina how she overcame the large obstacles, the opposition that faced her when she was trying to transform the tax authority in Uganda. And what she says here pretty much sums up what many of these women have said too before.
Well, some of the giants were my own giants, having to believe that I could do this, that we could do this, and not allowing the fear of failure to handcuff us.
Wow.
So that required a lot of prayer and working together with good people who said, no, we can do this. And we had a lot of support. We had support from His Excellency the President. We had support from the Ministry of Finance, who needed the revenue to fund government's program, and therefore we're happy to fund the transformation program. So yeah, I think the first giant was fear. Okay. Can we do this? I remember the very first interview I had with a journalist. A young lady came up to me and said, "We've seen commissioners general come and go. What makes you think you're going to succeed?" And without thinking, I said, "But I don't have an option. I must succeed. I don't have option A and option B. I must succeed." And it was at that moment that I realized that God had brought us up to this point, and He is faithful, and He is going to carry us through. So that was one of the giants. The second one was turning over this entire institution, because the transformation required that we terminate everybody, 2,000 people, and ask them to apply for jobs in the new organizational structure, and carry that
through a short period of say 6 months and still collect revenue. Now, we'd had support from the board of directors, but it's one thing to say approved, go ahead, it's another to actually carry it through.
Yeah.
So it meant that we were going to have to let go of people we'd worked with for many years who for some reason didn't pass interviews, whether it was integrity or competence or a whole host of other things. So at that time, corporate transformation alone stood up like a huge giant in front of us. And up to this point, I'd never had any training in corporate transformation. So I was learning on the go, listening to God, consulting a lot, definitely, and making sure that I wasn't going to cause this ship called URA to capsize. So the reforms, the restructuring took 6 months.
Wow, that's a short period. 2,000 posts.
That's how you know God is alive and is involved in the daily business of running an institution.
Talking about the place of women, there's something Jumoke captures, and the place of women in our society, and how a woman can really take her place.
A man should be, for a woman, I feel, if I'm to wrap it up rather neatly, there can't be two heads in one home. I've been attacked for saying women should submit, because in marriage, a wife should submit. I don't believe a woman should submit to random men she meets, but your wife should submit to your husband. Why? A creature that has two heads is a monster. So there can only be one head in each family. And in the way God created things, a man is a head. It does not mean that he does not listen. It does not mean that he does not take all points of view into consideration. It does not mean that you cannot speak. But at the end of the day, the decision making is the final decision rests with someone. But the way I view submission is a bit different. May I tell you the way
Please
I view
go ahead. That's why you're here, Jumoke.
For me, submission is not what most people think it is. The biblical definition of submission is in Philippians chapter 2, starting from verse 5. And it talks about how Jesus Christ, with all he was, chose to leave everything, drop it down. Only powerful women can really submit. We mix submission up with obedience. Obedience is when you have no choice. So if, for instance, I want to travel and my husband says, oh, sweetheart, you cannot go. I don't want you to go, but I have the money to go. And I choose to stay. That is submission. But if I go to him and I say, sweetheart, I'd like to travel, and he says, I don't have the money now for you to go, then I sit down. I have not submitted. I have obeyed.
It's like that child who they said should sit down, and he says, I'm sitting down, but it's actually in my mind I'm standing up.
So you are not submitting if inside you are rebelling against everything the man is doing. Submission is when you get to the point you have the power, but you understand that power is nothing without control. In fact, that is why God says to women to submit, because he knows you are so loaded, so powerful, so intelligent, so intuitive, so smart, that if you don't submit, there will be chaos.
Listen to what Linda shares here. This is very insightful.
You realize that women stand in the gap. Many people don't know. Women are intercessors. We actually come in for this cause, for this purpose. Look at Esther in the Bible.
Yeah.
Look at Deborah. For me, I call myself Deborah. I'm supposed to be a very patient, unbiased arbiter. And so I stand in the gap for such situations. And I believe there are so many other women. In school, I used to be very quiet. People actually run to radio stations to come and find out whether this is Linda.
The same speaking. One they knew then.
They didn't know God was preparing me those days for this kind of thing. So I think many other women can do so many great things.
As we begin to round up, let us listen to what Jumoke Adenowo shares here about how a woman, I dare say anybody, can go about finding and fulfilling their life's purpose.
So you're saying, how do you identify your purpose? How do you identify your calling? How do you identify the reason for your existence? It is, putting it simplistically, it's not something we can do in 5 minutes. You need to ask your question. What would you do if you had all the money in the world and you didn't need to work for money? What would you do? Number one, I believe that your purpose lies at the nexus of love and hate. What you love doing and what you hate seeing. So I, for instance, hate seeing living below their potential. I hate seeing people living below their potential. And I love seeing people soaring like an eagle when they're in their zone. It is one of the most beautiful sights to see someone, nobody ever has everything, but you are moving towards purpose. It's like the best sight ever. So purpose lies in the nexus between love and hate. And what would you do if you never had to work for money? You had all the money in the world. What would you choose to do?
Thank you so much. This is where we'll wrap up for today. Thank you for joining us. And remember, it's our anniversary this month. This is the last week of it. And you still stand a chance, even now, to win a copy of this book, God's Mafia, by Pastor Ramabulani. It's on our YouTube channel. You need to be subscribed there. It's for free. You'll be subscribed there. And there are also cash prizes every week. So go over to our YouTube channel and we will see you next week, same station, same time. Thank you for joining us. Bye. Please like this video and leave a comment below. Let's know what you think. And don't forget to subscribe and click on the bell button and share this video with somebody else.